Hi guys, I'm Jen. Welcome to my channel. I wanted to do a quick update video. So this past week has been a bit of a roller coaster for me, and I'm just having a number of situations where it feels frustrating. And you know, when you're going to somebody who is considered a professional in their field, or at least has more knowledge than you do, but like you end up, it feels like being the one with more clarity, that can be really frustrating because like I don't know what's going on in these rooms, but these people are paid to be in these rooms, right? And so it's kind of like, so one of them was my car. It's been having issues with the sensor lights, and we got the turbo fixed on the first visit, and then I've had 3 visits since that were sensor issues, and on the 4th visit, this is within the month or so, I was just like, this is getting ridiculous. And so I decided, because they wanted to try to charge us for this, and I don't name names because what I'm looking for here is learning lessons, and my experiences, I share them so other people can like maybe see themselves within it, or be like, oh no, I do that and I could do that better. That's kind of the idea. I don't really enjoy shaming, because I don't know that, I mean, shaming could work, but I think for me, when I feel shame, I want to do better, but like usually it's not from someone else making me feel shame. It's usually because I get sick of my own shit, and somehow it's affecting me in my life as well. And then it moves from affecting me in my life to being like, you know what, me putting myself in that position that maybe I put somebody else in, and so like it makes me want to do different. So one of these things is like, at the dealership, like the 3rd visit for the sensor. So I'm like, okay, what's going on with this? And then I something tells me, go look. And I should have done this obviously when I bought the car, but when I bought the car, it was at a time where I was under a lot of stress, and I was working at an environment that it was really challenging in its own way because of the people I was around. And I had mean girls, and I had a lot of things going on there where it was a distraction. And so this time around, I was like, okay, I'm going to Google. And so this car is known for having sensory issues and turbo issues. So the first is that we got the turbo replaced, that was under warranty. Now we're having these sensor issues. So I was frustrated because I'm like, they couldn't find with the first and second visit regarding the sensor issues, they couldn't find an issue. I'm like, how do you not find an issue? Like, isn't that what that diagnostic thing is for? And then I also thought, like you guys deal with these brands of cars, so wouldn't you have like a specialty perspective from them? Because like these are the types of cars that your dealership and mechanics handle on a regular basis, being the professional, right? So like when we have sensor issues in this brand before, wouldn't we know what worked last time? And wouldn't you keep like a record of that? So like when the time comes again, we're going to be like, hey, remember when we had this? What did we do about that? Oh, we have a log that we go to. So this is interesting because like when I was working at these other factories in my life before, I was suggesting the same things, like keeping like a quality control log book. So like dated, but like attached to the product number, and then like the issues that we're having in detail, right? So like when it comes up again, because some of the things, like even though we were making like a number of products, so we can compare this to a number of cars and brands and issues, it would give you something to tie back to the situation. Well, the dealership does have like the company, or I don't know all the names, I'm not a car person, but like, you know, they could call up the person and be like, hey, we're having issues with this car, can you tell us, like, you know, you're like, you're the one who the manufacturer, maybe that's who I think they went to for extra information. And they couldn't find anything. So like that's when your manufacturer doesn't know what's going on, even though they have recalls, and they've had, like when I Google it, Google knows there's sensory issues with this car. So why doesn't the company who's created this car have more knowledge than Google? You know, so that's like, and this is just from what the information I'm getting and my perspective. So like, you know, there's something maybe I'm not sure. I know, I think when I research what a diagnostic tool does, it sends you in the area, but not like the actual, like it doesn't pinpoint like smoke is getting through this sensor and setting it off. Like it doesn't tell you exactly that. I guess they have to do like testing as to like, oh, it could be this, and you know, that gives you like an area to put your attention to. So it was just really frustrating because the thing is, like, every time I was taking it in, the guy I was dealing with would always start our conversation because he was keeping me updated. He did a great job, but like every day, okay, we still don't have an issue, we're gonna do this and that. That was great. But every time he'd call me like, hey, it's a really nice day out there, it's really sunny out, and then he would go into like, okay, this is the issue, we are finding this, we are finding that, but like, it is so condescending. Like, I don't have time to. What makes you think I have time to talk about the weather? I know you're trying to like make this softer, but I'm an adult. I can handle the tough news. Just tell it to me, but tell it to me, right? Don't beat around. I can't stand when people beat around the bush. I don't love that. I've never loved that, and it feels very slimy in his tactics, and like I can't handle the truth of the situation. So that was something I was not enjoying. Every time I was receiving a phone call with this guy, it was always something about the weather, or it's kind of crappy, it's raining today. And like, I don't care, bruh. We're not friends, and I don't discuss the weather with friends unless it affects like my life in some way, like the plants that I planted, or our plans to go outside. Like, other than that, I don't really give too much about the weather unless it's like in relation to a lifestyle. This is in relation to, like, we don't have a lifestyle. This is business. And so that was already frustrating me. And then, so when I Google and see that there's sensory issues with this car, like, why didn't he lead with that? Like, we have had a history of sensory issues with this vehicle. And then my next question is be like, okay, so like, you don't have like a logbook as to the, what's going on. So like, when this comes, we go look at the logbook and be like, okay, what was it when this was, like, let's try to like pinpoint it in that regard. This is just me coming from my perspective. Uh, and so I finally asked for his manager because like, this guy was not handling it. He's also trying to charge me for a diagnostic where, what I was told in our conversation, I was understanding like this sensory issue was attached to the turbo issue, which was covered. So now I'm like, why are you charging me for a dust? Because in the beginning he's like, well, we didn't know it was attached to the turbo issue. So it said, but now you know. And I had to tell you, but like, I think you know that because you're here. And he admitted it is attached to the turbo, so that would be covered. And so he talked to his manager, and they agreed that they would just give me a credit. So next time I went into, get an oil change, and that would be covered. But I said, well, I'm considering selling my car at this point because this car is 3.5 years old, and I've already had a cooling fan issue that's had to be replaced and addressed. And now I've had four visits, like 4 visits, and this car is only 3.5 years old. That's a problem. The reason why I was looking for a new vehicle is because as a female who is, I don't want a car that can break down in the middle of nowhere. And so the guarantee is what I was looking for, was like getting a new car that didn't require anything for a long period of time. And I used to just lease them, but at this time I was suggested to finance it. And I'm questioning the salesmen who, I mean, they're salesmen, but you know what? This is a problem I'm having. Like, yeah, they're salesmen, but we are still humans. This is the problem I'm having with these people. It's like, talk to me like I'm a human, treat me like I'm inhuman, and like, and this is also like, I'm realizing I'm very different from a lot of people. Like, I don't know, like, when I'm creating my business, when I get there, the idea is like, I want to walk away from that experience. Like, I like to walk away from experiences, like, I feel like I got my value for the dollar. Maybe I got a little something extra, but that the person providing that didn't have to pay extra. They're still making they're still, as a business owner, they're still receiving like a fair price for their service and their product, but they actually gave me a little extra because there's in that discrepancy of like, cost and like, I don't know the terms. I took this in admin, but I don't remember it because I didn't retain anything or much of it. But there's like a, what it actually costs you, and like what you raise the price to be. There's still, I feel like there's always some wiggle room in there, I would think. I mean, today's day, there's more than wiggle room. Because, and here's the thing, it's like, we're always talking about these celebrities and these politicians who are greedy, but then we also have people amongst our community who are really profiting off our, if you don't know anything about this, like, you don't always know the questions to ask. And so for me, it's kind of like, like, this is your profession. I would expect you to have this blind spot because you have so much experience. Like, one of the things he's like, well, we have our guy of 40 years experience working on it, and he can't find the issues. Or, it's like, 40 years of experience, and you I don't know. So like I said, I don't know cars. I don't know about this stuff, but I do know, like, wouldn't you continually want to be trying to improve your craft? And I'm just finding a lot of people don't. They just find to settle where they are, and it's frustrating as a customer because it makes you feel like, and like, here's the thing too, as a salesman who I was dealing with, why is nobody like I after so they did the dealership, the manager I was dealing with, he did finally take care of it, even though he gave me a hard time with our initial conversation, trying to make excuses for all this crap. And then finally at the end of it, like, he's like, we did find something wrong, we did fix it. And so I apologized for a few things there, but, and then he did reimburse me that original diagnostic charge, because they were just going to put it back on my credit. And I'm like, well, no, it came from my credit card, so I want it back on my credit card, you know? And so they weren't willing to do that. Or the sales guy or service guy I was dealing with wasn't willing to do that. So when I did speak to the manager, he did start taking care of things, but at the same time, he was kind of like mixed in there too. And it's also, I assume it's his responsibility to be listening in on his service guys and whoever, like, that are dealing with the customers, to make sure they're giving, like, why do I have to get loud and assertive to get service? That's what I don't. Nobody wants to be put in that position where now I have to start calling you out. Now I'm questioning your skill, and I'm also you're making me feel slimy with your the way you're running your business. And while they did fix it, this business has been around long enough. So this isn't the first. I don't believe this would be the first situation. And well, like, in the end, it felt like they had neutralized the situation, but like, there was a lot of time wasted, especially when my daughter's driving it. Like, she's the one taking it to the appointments and stuff. It's a lot of time out of her day. I think the last time she had to leave her job in the middle of her shift to go and bring the car over and then get back. And while yes, they do have shuttle services, that's wonderful, but like, there's time her time is not getting paid for. Like, yeah, you fix the problem, and but like, you're not my time is important too. And so I understand mistakes, but what I don't understand is like ignoring, like, and not improving after you. So I did talk to this guy. I said, I need you to talk to that guy, because like, him starting off his conversation, every phone call like that about the weather is super condescending, and it doesn't feel good. And he's like, I totally agree and I understand. And I said, like, I didn't know if that's your responsibility to address that, but I need to. But why? Why do I need to? Because that's the thing too, is I also require that I ask them previously to have someone contact me about selling that car, because it's just, I'm paying way too much for what I'm getting, and the idea was a safe and secure car, and it's higher maintenance, especially for how young the car is, right? And I still have not received a phone call from the people who are supposed to call me to give me more information about how that works, how I go about that, and give me more details that I understand. And even the original guy I talked to, where they had transferred me to the original financial guy, like, I didn't feel like I could ask him questions. And that's a problem. If you don't have someone who's approachable or open to answering your concerns, because like, I already don't know much about it, so I need somebody who is, receptive to someone, instead of like, just talking at me like I have any clue what they're saying about the cars, and what they're in the area of, what they're talking about, like wholesalers, or I don't even know. And I don't even know. And I didn't feel comfortable to ask questions. But he was going to direct me to another person who I'd talked to previously. So I thought, okay, that would be a chance for me to maybe get some of these more details. But that person never called me. And so I'd mentioned that to the manager. And so I said, why should I, like, do I have to now, like, go and make another phone call to get that phone call in return? Because now I feel like I'm doing your job. Because, like, that's meant to be, like, when I ask to get a phone call about something, I've called somebody, I've asked about that. Like, if you don't put it in your book to schedule it, to remind yourself to follow up on it, that makes me wonder, like, that's not in your daily habits of, like, following up on things, which is a manager's job, right? to make sure, okay, how did that work out? Did you get a hold of this person? And then sometimes it's like that one manager is doing too much and not receiving it, and that could be overworked too. But it's still, as a customer, that's still not my job. My job is to be serviced because I'm paying a lot of money for the service and for this vehicle to be serviced. And then when I'm having to take time out of my day to now call you back again and again, now I'm upset. Now I'm doing your job, but I'm not getting paid for your job, right? And so that was a really frustrating circumstance. And while it has worked out, but not without, like I said, I don't feel like if I have to get loud and I have to be the boss in the room, and you're the expertise, that's someone I don't want to deal with anymore. And so I had another situation where I came across, I was walking home. I had like a broom and a dustpan and a number of items that I had to get from my house, probably some groceries. And I came across, like, I was walking down the street and I came across, there was this business, and I go there, and there was a little white bunny out front, and I was like, what the heck? Like, you couldn't miss it. And I was like, oh my God, what the? So I went inside the business. I'm like, do you know there's a white bunny sitting outside your business? She's like, oh yeah, we think it belongs to such and such. They had a puppy in their yard all during the heat wave. And so it doesn't surprise me that, like, it probably belongs to them. But like, in a minute I was like, okay, look, I'm not going to return it there, because she showed me where the crate was, and it's at the back of the house, but like outdoors. And I don't know right now all the information. I realize more about bunnies, but I'm like, okay, that seems like secluded and off to the back. Like, how are you going to be, like, it didn't seem like a safe space for a domestic animal, right? This isn't just like a brown bunny bouncing around outside. That's wild. This is like a domestic animal. And I'm like, I don't know much about it, but something about me told me I'm not returning that animal to that home because I don't think it's safe there. And then I looked at the door and I'm like, how did this tiny little bunny get that door open? So to me, I'm like, did someone leave this? Like, it seems like they've just left this bunny unattended. There's no way that door got opened by this bunny. And so I felt like an irresponsible household to be taking. And let me tell you, I've had to surrender animals before because I have been overwhelmed, and my health was horrible. My mental health was failing. So don't get, like, I've been there. I've surrendered dogs, and I've shortly after gotten dogs when I thought my situation was better and I thought it was improving, and it was not. So I can be that one who I can understand. I can understand thinking like, no, it's not going to be that bad. Like, we'll be okay. And then things are not good. And I thought I changed enough my lifestyle to where I could be more of a consistent dog owner, and I was wrong. Uh, but I surrendered I didn't drop my dog off at the middle of the road. It took me a lot of time to like contemplate what was I going to do. I researched. I looked for areas that take in surrendered dogs. Like, I didn't just drop. I was overwhelmed often and in the moment, but I still didn't just dump the dog. I wanted to make sure the dog. So I had a dog named Max, and he was a beautiful black lab border collie. And so after I had an accident and I had a concussion, as a single parent, I was struggling, and I was struggling getting him walked on a regular basis. I was trying to get the kids involved, but like, honestly, like, I had, like, you know what, that was, if I wasn't able to get the kids to consistently help around the house, how am I expecting to have them consistently help with the dog? So like, I was delusional at that point. I didn't know what I didn't know. And so like, he was just laying there and he looked miserable. He looked bored. Border collies need stimulation, need to be a working dog. So I finally made the decision to surrender him. And they actually found a farm with a stay-at-home mom and a son, and a father. But like, it would be, to me, I was like, the woman's going to be there all day. There's a son who, Max is really going to enjoy to be around, and he likes sleeping, either on your bed or in your room. So I could totally see that happening. And some people are like, oh, you think they just told you that? I'm like, no, I don't think they're just going to tell me that. I think that's what he got, because that's what he deserved. And it was really hard for me to surrender him. Because like, you just keep telling yourself things are going to get better. Things are going to get better. I can handle this. But like, if I haven't recognized my patterns on why things are the way they are, then things aren't going to get better. And so that was a challenging decision for me and my kids, because I don't think, later I realized, like, the kids didn't think I was serious. And then all of a sudden I just came home without the dog. Like, I told them what I was doing. I gave them a chance to say goodbye, but I think they thought I was just bluffing in order to get them to help out more with the dog. So that was something I definitely regret doing that the way I did it. But I also knew I was not taking care of my kids the way they needed, and I was also like, he required a lot of exercise. Um, so so I can understand like being overwhelmed with responsibilities and thinking like you can handle something and realize you can't. But the fact was this animal was just left outside. You know, during the summer it's been really hot, and it was near a main street. It was in a driveway, and the problem I'm having too is like not just the people who abandon this animal. It's like there's so many people that would have seen this it's white rabbit. How do you not see a white rabbit? And even like, I'm disappointed in the business owner because it's like, for like, she could have put out water. She could have like, she had a brew and dustpan. She could have like shooed the bunny back onto the property, maybe into the shade. She could have called someone. And honestly, it was challenging for me to try to find someone to help too. Um, but I did it. And like, I'm out of work right now. I don't have money for a bunny. I had to put this on my credit card. I don't have space for that I know of. But at the same time, I just couldn't walk away and leave this animal, you know. And it's questioned my ideas about like the idea of being an empath, because sometimes I think being an empath can be, if we were too much in our emotions. But this wasn't, I don't know that it felt emotional. Like, so for me, I could really relate to that bunny being like discarded and left kind of fend for themselves. And this is a domestic bunny, so it's not like a wild bunny where they have more of an instinct. I assume like this animal, like we raise domestic animals, so we brought this animal into existence. It's not like something that's living out in the wild. Like as humans, we chose to breed a domestic animal, and like it's not being taken care of, so like that makes that creature extra vulnerable, right? And I can relate to that because being raised in my environment, I do feel like I was like really isolated, neglected, but also like very fear mongered into living my life. And so I definitely could relate with that little bunny being like, you know, thrown into a world where I don't know how to survive in it. And I was just like, I just didn't think. I was like, no, I'm taking this thing home. I don't know how, but I'm gonna figure it out. And so I did take that little guy or girl. I don't really know. I thought it was a little girl because she's so cute. Not that boys can't be cute too, but I don't know. And so like I have a terrier dog. And I have another little pug, and the pug is more friendly, and I think she would be more of a sniffer and curious, but the terrier dog is going to see that as like a plaything and potentially like a prey, right? So I have an extra bedroom, so that's where the rabbit went into. I did use one of the dog's crates because I thought maybe like when I first had the bunny, he was pooping and peeing literally all the time and everywhere. I was like, okay, I wanted to have room to move around in a safe way, like, so I removed all the cords. Um, and there was a little area on this bookshelf that it had gravitated to, so I think that considered it's kind of like its little hutch hiding. I gave it space, I gave it water, and I gave it lettuce. And then I went out to the local pet store to get like the grass that it eats. And then I also was like, okay, I need those pine. She offered pine shavings, and then I really googled later, like, there, you're not supposed to give them pine shavings, but that's what the lady at the store, in the pet store, who works there on a regular basis, suggested was pine shavings. When I got home and I was getting more information on the bunny, I realized you're not actually supposed to give them pet shavings, but you should. So this is kind of my frustration. It's like there's so many people that are just doing a job that they're so checked out of, but like you're like relying on them, and like the ability to like for me, like it's almost like you have to literally research every single thing and like fact check everything at this point, because it feels like there's just so many people that are just living a life that I don't know. Like I said, like that lady couldn't even give them water at the store. Like, you have a tap, you have a bowl, like can you not just do that just to help like with the dehydration? And I don't know. And so um I did finally get a hold. I asked a local vet. I'm like, I've got a bunny here. This is so. I woke up one morning. So the bunny seemed to be okay eating the lettuce and stuff like that. Really love that. Was drinking a lot, and so I'm like, okay, this is a good sign. Was eating the hay. Was kind of coming out of the hutch and coming around me. But then when the next morning when I went in to get the bunny, like it was not moving. But its eyes were open and it could kind of move. I'm like, okay, this is not good. And I was like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? And so this is like, okay, I need extra help. I need to find like a rescue. And then I was like, okay, but at first I was looking for the vet, and they're like, well, we cut bunny's nails and we fix them, but we don't treat them, which I thought that was kind of an odd. I don't understand it. I'm sure there's some sort of reason that I just don't understand. I don't like you an ill. I thought like you're a vet. I thought like your purpose was to help animals that are in need. So to me, I'm like, I don't know. That's confusing to me. Like I said, I'm not saying there's not a reason. I just didn't understand it, but I kept looking. So I found a rescue, and ow, my ankle. The rescue was helpful because like she's asking some questions and things, but I still was frustrated because when I look back on the situation, it wasn't just with her. It really taught me a lot about myself. How, you think you're asking the hard questions. In different scenarios, you're not asking the hard questions. So I recognize in this environment, so like she's trying to get like, she's saying, it shouldn't be eating a lot of lettuce because she thought it was, I got some conflicting information in our communication because we were on Messenger, and she's like, oh, he looks to be like about 4 to 5 months old. And so, but it's so young to be eating lettuce. So you got to wait till they're 6 to 7 months old. So I'm like, okay, so like I shouldn't be feeding it lettuce, but like lettuce is all it wants right now. Other than it was grazing on the alfalfa. And to me, I'm like, I don't like, I feel like this animal is probably hungry and thirsty. So I'm just happy that it's eating something. Because that's always a huge warning is if your animals aren't eating anything. So I'm like, well, it's interesting in that. So I got it like alfalfa sticks to chew on, but it didn't seem interested in chewing on. It didn't try to chew my furniture, so there's no chewing there. And then in the conversation, she's like, well, it looks young like mine, which is 3 weeks, but it looks a little bit bigger than mine. So like I think that's where it gave me conflicting. She mentioned like she's feeding hers goat milk, but like I still had the she thinks it's 4 to 5 months old. So like I'm like, okay, so like yours is little one is taking goat milk, but you just said mine was like, and then she's like, it looks to be the same size. So now I have like the information that's conflicting, and I'm in like emergency mode. So I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay, like I know you give like some small animals that milk, but I didn't realize my animal was that small. Cause like I'm googling, like I'm hearing about dwarf bunnies. I don't know what full size this bunny's gonna be. So I wish there was more sort of like more direct questions, looking for and waiting for direct answers. Like I wish, like and the and that's the thing. Like in the moment, I'm trying to figure out. Like I was like. And I would say an impulsive sort of energy to try to keep the bunny alive because I'm like, okay, it's like here, like when I was fine the one night and then woke up the next night, this is like really temperamental. And bunnies, what I understood, could get stressed and just die, like hedgehogs, because we've had a hedgehog and that happened as well. So I was very like, whoa, like, you know, and so like this isn't to blame, like the volunteer who I worked with was very helpful. I think I recognize where I have areas to work on my leadership skills, and I think she does too, like in communicating and like following up with the communication. And same with the car dealership. I realized, like, you know what, I should have done my homework before buying the car. I was in a stressed out state where I didn't have my other car much longer, so I had to find something quite quick. And so I relied on the salesman at that time, and I just don't know if that was. It's a great car, and I think every car does have its issues. Um, so, like I said, it's not a blame game here. I guess it's more of like working better on my communication, but other people's communication too. And when I'm not receiving like enough information, I still have questions in my mind, like to not feel afraid to speak out and ask for it. Because I do feel like being raised in my environment, I was discouraged to ask questions. I was discouraged to be curious. And I didn't have patient caregivers that would like explain stuff. Like they would get more frustrated with the questions as opposed to like wanting to provide clarity. And so I definitely think that's still something I'm working on here. And like, so it's not to blame, like, you know what, so then, but I'm just looking at ways that this could have been, it could have been, the protocol could have been improved. So like, you know, when you get an animal that someone's calling into the foster, like they say, like, they get more information, like how much does it weigh? What's the size? Like, can we get a measurement? That way maybe we can like somehow, like she did ask for pictures for Facebook and stuff like that. But like, let's ID what we're dealing with and get the most information, so then I can give you the answer that's going to be most successful for this situation. So these people, her and her mom do foster bunnies and that, so they were going to come and pick the bunny up the next day in the morning. And from my understanding, they have resources to vets and stuff like that they could get the care. And so the conversation was like, you know, the next morning was like, we're coming to pick her up. We got to get an oil change and gas. Like, would you rather it earlier than later? And so that was another thing. Like, to me, I'm like, yes, the bunny is doing well, but like, I don't understand how temperamental bunnies are, and I thought they would. So like, to me, like, the answer is sooner, because like, I'm just doing what I can to try to keep this bunny alive. And like I said, I did not um, move on the idea of the goat's milk. And her daughter was asking me so many things before, like, can you get oval, which is for gas, and because this is when the bunny was like literally like laid out on the floor that morning, because I'd moved it to a more, that her hideaway where I thought she would feel safer, and I put her in my bath mat to make her feel like she was more hidden, but like warm, because she felt cold to the touch. And then the night before, when she was eating, her ears were really warm, and I googled like that's with energy and eating when that happens, I guess. So I'm like, okay, that's weird now that she's really cold. So I wasn't sure if she was in shock. So I put her, and then I realized when I was checking on the bunny had moved from that and like fallen. It was laying there flat and was trying to get up and could not. And so when I googled further, electrolytes, and then I realized that this animal had been out in the heat but also peeing for a lot. And then I didn't know, like I could see poo coming up, but I didn't know if that's a healthy amount. I didn't know if that was a healthy amount of poo. And what happened was, when I bundled the bunny up, I gave it water, and I went and got electrolytes to put in the water, like Pedialyte for babies. And then I also put lettuce, because I knew it liked lettuce, and it wasn't eating at that time. So I'm like, okay, like, I mean, I know they want alfalfa hay, but like at least romaine lettuce is something. And I saw that the poop was still coming out previously, and then so by giving it the lettuce, it actually stimulated its digestive tract, I think, because then this freaking weird, like, compacted, like 9 little poos compacted together. The bunny passed that. I'm like, okay, that's a good sign. And then since that happened, like, I saw the bunny pick up its energy and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, maybe that, because originally I googled it. It said something about gut stasis, and I'm like, that is like an emergency medical, which is what led me to calling the vet, calling the foster care right away, like that morning, because I was like, oh my god, this is the first bunny I've dealt with like this. Like, the only other bunny I brought into my home before was one that had been like run over by a lawnmower, and so all its skin had been like shaved a bit, and so I took like a gauze, and I covered it in like that stuff for baby bum rash, and I placed it on the back to hopefully help with any sort of pain and inflammation from that. And then like, I don't know where to call for these places. I wish it was you just don't think about it at the time, like having these things on like speed dial, and even with the internet and Google, like so many things come up. So that's something to be aware of too, is like having groups that have this listed, and if you're in a group for these things, like really have those numbers. And maybe they need to be pinned, I don't know, but in that moment you're just kind of like all over the place. So like having the ease of information when things are happening like that is really helpful, I think, moving forward. Like, vets that take, like, what do these vets take? What animals do they take? Which ones do they don't? And it could be there, but like more of like an emergency card. You know how you have emergency numbers on your fridge? Like, that's what I would have loved in this sort of situation. And I felt like I had to call around a lot, and some of the information was outdated. So I feel like that time is of the essence, in my opinion. And so, yeah, so I finally got in contact with these two, is mother and daughter team, and they're associated with another, like a foster group. So that did wonder. I was kind of concerned, like, that I felt like sooner than later, because like not only that, but like I still have my dogs, and like they're in their room, created like with a baby gate, but at the same time, like I was struggling with trying to get them their time and attention, and now I've got a baby bunny, which, yes, I took on, but like nobody else like was picking it up, and I'm like, I just can't. I can't. So, so at this time, I'm trying to think, okay, how did that work? So the morning that happened, where I thought the bunny was dying, it was not, and was doing better. So we got through that whole, like, I didn't know constipation could really create that kind of chaos in a bunny system, but we got past that. And so now they were going to come pick up the bunny next morning. So cool. The problem I'm having is, like, obviously, like, the bunny was still kind of weak, and like that's where the Pedialyte came in. So I'm like, muscles, electrolytes can affect your muscle strength. So I'm like, maybe that was it. So when they came to pick up the bunny, I was like, you know what, my dogs bark at a leaf blowing by the house, so like just let me know when you're here. I'll come get your carrier and put like a little bunny blanket that she was you know, it had my scent. And since that time, she actually had a picture of her where she had come and she was starting to sleep when I was in the room. But then one time she came closer to me and laid on the laminate flooring, and she had actually tilted over, which is a sign that they feel safe around you. So I had that little bunny mat closer to me because my knees were killing me because I was just I googled that, just spending time in the room. Like, it's not all about play with the bunny, because I bought little dollar store balls for her. She didn't seem interested in playing at that point, which I mean makes a lot of sense. But I was just like, I don't know, I'm just trying to do whatever you're supposed to do. And so I would just sit there play my games, and I was kneeled down, but it was hurting my knees. So I brought in my back mat to kneel on, and so she laid down over, and so I moved her on because when I made a noise, she kind of scattered and she didn't have any traction. So I'm like, that doesn't make her feel safe. So I'm like, okay, let's really amp up the safety zone and bring her over on this mat where, you know, if she feels she needs to get up and, like, you know, from a noise or something, she feels safe that she can push off and go. She didn't, but I wanted to make her, give that extra safety. And I had read something about they like carpet surfaces and things like that. But like with the pee and the poo going on, I didn't know. I did have a mat in there, but like it was covered in poo and pee, so I had to take it out and clean it, like a bigger mat, like a rug. And so we really, it seemed like she was getting better, and her balance was still a bit off. So like I was like really surprised. So when they came to take her the next morning, the way they handled it, this is what, like, great volunteers giving of their time, but like this is where I think more protocol, and I just didn't understand this. So I brought the bunny out to them in a carrier with the bags of food and everything, and all her Pedialytes and all her things. And so like they had the side door open, and so I gave her the crate. They put it on the seat, but then they opened the crate while I was in the car, and that was a one thing where I'm like, I don't know that that's a great idea, because like this bunny is scared and like it could jump and fall, and bunnies' bones are very fragile. So at first I was like, but I'm like, they're the professionals. And then she picked up the bunny, and then she was like holding it on its back to like sex it, to see if it was a boy or girl. But I'm like, dude, like if it was humid out that day, I remember like I was in sweats and joggers, but I'm like, it's still like, it was still warm, and I'd understood like domestic bunnies can't handle heat. So that I was like, okay, like, do we need to do this now? I'm thinking that, but I didn't say it because I'm like, these women deal with this all the time. But I just thought, like, knowing her history of what I've told you of what she's been through, like, why are we like, because they're gonna take it to a vet. Like the vet's gonna do that in a cool, quiet environment, not like on my driveway where cars are driving by and two strangers just came and picked her up, and like that's. And here's the thing, I'm not blaming, because I'm not done my story, but like it just made me wonder, like, if things were done different, it could have been better of the results. And then so she put her back in there, and we are talking, and at the same time I'm like, you know what, like I was talking because I was excited about my experience, but like I'm waiting on them to like, kind of like cut the conversation and go. So I'm just filling the void too, and trying to give them credit, but also like I have a problem, like I feel like they're helping me, because otherwise I don't know what to do with this bunny, and if I don't have help, it's potentially going to just die because I don't have access to a vet. I checked for a local vet, I couldn't find one. I didn't have my car at that time, and so I'm kind of like relying on them. So I find like for me it's really hard to just walk away, and just because it feels impolite. And so I'm wondering if that's maybe something they deal with as well, like just you know, it's hard to just like the idea for me, it was like I just wanted to hand off the bunny so they could shuttle out to get help immediately, but that's not really what I like. There was more conversation in there, and then the bunny was just there in the crate, but then she looked at it, she's like, oh, I think we're losing him, because he was looking a little off, because when she sexed it, she then thought, I think it's actually a boy. So then the next thing I was kind of concerned about, like, okay, like go do what you got to do, I'm done. Like we were kind of chit chatting, but like I'm reading their, like I'm feeding off them, like they don't seem in a sort of high hustle state, or like a like let's get this going. So I'm like, okay, you know what, I guess like what I've done with the bunny has gotten it to a healthier place, so we're not really concerned as much anymore. That's what I understood, maybe. But like for them, like to have the bunnies, I would think that they have, but I don't know if they have experience for what happened like this. I don't know, you know. So like if we're both learning, I don't know. But I just like, but then so the daughter took the bunny and got into her chair in her front, like the passenger seat, and was gonna hold the bunny on the way. But I'm like, I had already read like the bunnies need to be in a secure like carrier, covered up, because that makes them feel safe. And then they had just told me in this conversation about why bunnies aren't great for kids, because a lot of kids want to hold the bunny, but bunnies don't like to be held. But then I'm like, you're taking the bunny that you're losing and you're like holding it. So I'm like, is that helping, or is that causing more stress with the bunny? And so I don't know. Looking back, I'm just like, there's so many things the group of us could have done different. And because I guess on the way to the vet, the bunny started having seizures, and then so by the time they got to the vet, they had to euthanize the bunny. And the vet bill associated with that was like around $500, just under. And I'm like, that's. And then it also made me wonder, like, I don't understand. Like, is there? These are just questions I have. I don't know, and I don't always feel like there's the time and place to be asking this. And like, some people get really defensive if we be like, oh, should we done it like that, or maybe we could have done that better. So like, I no longer really enjoy like telling people how to live or how to be. But for me, I use the whole situation on how I could improve myself moving forward with my communication skills and advocating. Because like for me, I picked up this bunny and took on responsibility. So like, I should have been like, okay, like here, like we should probably move, right? Like we should go. And I should have been like, are you supposed to be holding it? It's not going to stress it out. Like, we're standing out here in the heat. Is that not affecting it? Like, it just came in from the heat a couple days ago. Would that not be stressful? Like, but like, I just assumed they had more experience with bunnies. So, like, these are things. And I'm not saying this is why the bunny died. Like, very well, this bunny could have been having seizures up to that point. But, like, I guess I'm just questioning, like, we already know the bunny has been through so much stress. We already know, like, holding on to a bunny is stressful. Having it outside right now while we're talking in the heat is stressor. Like, and then having the crate open and not covering it with a blanket, that can, these are all things like, and I put lettuce in there because I know it likes lettuce, and I thought maybe it would eat the lettuce on the ride, and then she would normally nap. So I'm like, I was hoping that would be less stress for the bunny during that ride, but that's not happened. And like, I don't know. I'm just like, I look at things, and in hindsight, I'm like, could this have been done better where the bunny would have survived? And I understand animals die. I understand that. But like, the idea is like, we're trying to prevent that. This bunny is a beautiful little bunny and had such gentle, sweet energy about him, her. And it was just the sweetest little, it just had the most gentlest nature. It actually jumped up on my back the night, I think it was the night I found him, her. And I was really surprised. I'm like, whoa, dude, like, you're up on my back. Because I was kneeled over. I think that was the first night. Because I only had it for 2 nights. Because it was the next morning it woke up and it had issues with poo. So I think it was that night I made a recording for my daughter to see, like, this bunny, this cute little bunny was up. It felt comfortable enough to be up on my back. And then, like, I'm handing it over to strangers. And then when I first had the bunny, like, I only picked it up when I had to move it. Because it would want to follow me out of the room into the rest of the house. I'm like, dude, we can't do that. I got a terrier, 2 dogs in that room. They can see you, and they're gonna bark, and that's gonna scare you. And then, like, my house was not bunny proof, so I thought this big bedroom is good enough. But like, it was very social. It was gonna be a very cute, bunny. And we had moments where it's just, I'm playing on my phone and it's just lying there, and we're just enjoying each other's company. It was really sweet. And so, yeah, it's not about like, we all know what we know until we don't know it. But I think sometimes, like, we need people who are in charge to put in certain protocols and make sure those protocols are being followed. And I know I've done this myself, so I'm not trying to blame anybody, but it's just like, how can we improve what we're doing for success? And as for me, it's like saying, I lead with my emotion too, and I spent money on a bunny that I didn't know if it was gonna live, and I don't have that money. I don't have that money. But like, for me, I'm like, I had to. Was that an emotional decision? Maybe, because in the end, that bunny died anyways. But it did have we had some, oh, see, I'm emotional. And people are like, it's just a bunny. But I'm like, that's not just a bunny to me. I don't know. It's like a living animal. And yet I eat chicken and I eat cows. And I think for me, I think it's more like how the bunny was like discarded and like treated in that regard. Like, I understand animals are animals, I get that, but like, to me, everyone deserves food and safe shelter. Everybody deserves that. Animals deserve that, wild or not. I don't understand how on this planet of abundance and like prosperity and greed, that there is not enough to provide safety and shelter for all animals and all humans at this point. Like, like, as a society, we're all failing. Because like there's things that could have been done better. There's people who ignored that bunny, and they could have called someone, or at least tried to call. They could have gave it water, and that could have helped that bunny survive. And I know like there is a life and death cycle. I understand that. I'm not sitting here like, I agree that the the way it went about, and I've understood like not everything is perfect. It's not everything is gonna, not every animal is gonna live. They do have surviving a high number of survival for the animals that they take in. To me, I always look at how we could be to make it better and improve the situation. And it's not meant to judge me. It's not meant to judge them, but it's just like recognizing like I don't know. It's just kind of like same with the dealership. Like it felt like they were more focused on like their numbers than me as a customer. And in the end, they did try to do things to make it better, but at the same time, I still lost time and from that experience when it didn't have to be that way, And so, and I'm not just a customer in the way that I'm a number that I'm buying your products and services, but I'm actually a person too. And how would you want to be treated when you show up in an environment like this? And just because they know someone who knows cars and can help them, maybe there's an area of life that they don't know anything about, and like they're going to be put in that position and be like, oh, okay, maybe this is what it feels like when you're relying on someone's expertise and profession, and they're treating you like they just don't care because they've checked out for whatever reason, And so I don't know. It's this whole experience has been good. I'm glad I picked up the bunny, because those moments that I did have, I've really appreciated it. It's inspired something in me as well, because like I'm like I could have, because they asked if I want to foster, and I'm like, well, I'm not working right now, so I can't afford it. But I do know they can help with those um, things. But I also like I have dogs in the house. So I'm like, what? I have an empty garage that needs to be insulated. So like I'm like, what? I can't do anything right now, but in the future, I'm thinking, like I don't know, is this something I want to like? I would like to help out more. And while my YouTube channel is meant to help other people grow and improve their life, but I also think there's another vulnerable sector out there, which are animals. And I don't know, I guess my path is moving towards um, having compassion for vulnerable individuals and helping improve those dynamics around them. And unfortunately, I've just recognized, and it's not unfortunate, it's fortunate. Like, I just have a big heart, and a lot of people just don't, for whatever reason, whether it's been closed off, they're prioritizing their time and money over other people's, and for a different intention. And I just realized, like, I do have a gift to provide care and nurturing to living things. I'm a garden girl and doing really well with that in my garden as well. I still have not done a garden tour, and I will get there. Um, so like recognizing what your gifts are is so important. And like there are times where like somebody didn't want you to see who you are. And I definitely feel like it's been a work in progress trying to really recognize who I truly am and the gifts that I have. And when you see it next to somebody else, not to compare, because I think we all have our own gifts and talents. Like I said, I still struggle with making money. I do get caught in my emotions because I'm a nurturer. And I think that's where, you have those movies where they all have their different skills, but like, why can't everyone have a different skill and add that to our society and world but get paid still? Because some of these volunteers, like they're scrounging for funds and to help these animals, and it's coming out of their own pockets too, and it's coming out of their own time. And it's important to care for society. If you don't have nurturers and caregivers in the environment, it's a cold and cruel place, and when we have to focus so much on earning an income to pay for housing and shelter, like how to like it's not just a distraction, but like I think that can sometimes cut off like certain people. I don't know all these answers, but I just know that there's more that we as a whole could be doing. And I know there are times where I have to cut off my energy from like certain individuals. And there are things like if I found like a rabid raccoon, I probably wouldn't feel safe to approach that raccoon. I don't have the skill set. And like even with that little white bunny, like I've been bit by sick hamsters when I was younger, so I was scared to get bit too. And like one of the passerbys was like, "I'm afraid to get bit." I'm like, "But I am too, and I'm still doing something right." And so I don't know. I don't know about all that. I don't know. I just can tell you, like, there are times when I just can't walk away from certain things, but I'm also learning where some people will try to take my energy for granted and try to overstep. And it's not to say like they're a negative person, but there's just, I've had to learn what I can do and what I can. And one of those things was like, I thought about fostering that bunny, but I'm like, I don't have a job right now. I don't have room on my credit card to pay for an animal right now. I'm struggling with my own dogs and giving them the time and attention that they need, because I'm still trying to train them because they're not trained completely. I'm still having issues with people, even dogs that are on leash outside. When I walk my dogs, like there was like a pit bull the other day, and there was a teenage boy walking him. He looked like a teenager, and saw my dogs, and like it took everything in that boy to hold that dog back from coming across the road to come at me and my dogs. That scares me. So like in the past, I've had dogs off leash, and that scares me. But now I'm like having people who have these big ass dogs and can't manage them, when they get triggered. And I understand too, because like you're not just gonna want to give up your dog, you're gonna work on it. But like I think we need more people, but we need more pay for the people who can care for these animals. Like it really is like a selfless job. And I don't think that's how it needs to be. And so like I'm seeing an issue in society where, I don't know how, but I want to improve that some way. And so it's motivated me to like also be more consistent, because like I do want to create a channel and make money and live off my channel, but then it's also because I want to have more time in my day so I can, improve society too. It's not just about like, yes, I have a home that I want to be more aesthetically soothing and lower maintenance. But it's not just so I can sit here and pick my nose all day and eat bonbons. Like I have other aspirations and goals I want to achieve to help society as a whole. And it starts small. And I think some of these small experiences where they can, I've had so many challenges over the last few years, especially, that some of these things can feel like a tidal wave and take you out. But like when I work through my emotional, like recognizing this lesson as a blessing, and I was mad because I felt like maybe we didn't handle this correctly, and I wish I had more guidance and leadership on how to, really give the best care to that bunny. It's not to say there wasn't effort or good intention involved. It's just we need some structure. We need better structure, I think. And I've seen that in a lot of businesses as well. Like we need better structure. A lot of the workplaces I've been in, we need more structure. And it just was just falling by the wayside. And the thing is like the leaders of the building are the ones who have taken on this responsibility, and it's really on them, you know? And they're making all the money. And I'm not saying that about the foster, but I'm talking about the dealership. I'm talking about factories that I've worked in my past, where there's no excuses for this neglect and overlook to happen in there. So for me, this has really motivated me, and I know this is a long video, but I think it's important to say. And so it's like I said, it's not to blame, but it's to recognize like things could have been better to improve the outcome of this situation. And to me, I'm always going to be looking to be better and become better. And some people may say that's a perfectionist. I think if it's attached to the goal of improving society, I'm okay with that, because I think I can also accept a loss. I can also understand, maybe there was damage previously to the bunny that where, it was never going to survive this. I don't know, because animals are very good at hiding their pain and resilient, much like children are. And so I also can, see where, to me personally, I also want to work towards kids and people with their inner child to improve that, because I feel like that is a very vulnerable aspect within ourselves. And I think a lot of people tie off their heart because of things that happen in their childhood, and that can make them very number oriented as opposed to vulnerable and compassionate and graceful. And I could be very wrong on that, but I'm just wondering if, the more I work with people and their inner child, and so I am trying to stay on that straight and narrow. It is get challenging because I'm still working through some of my own challenges. I am not at that place yet where I can like exhale and relax and, have some things that are in my home that I want instead of just the necessities. And so I'm still working through my own resentments, but at the same time, I'm also learning on ways to protect myself. And I think that's helped also with me being in that prey energy and knowing what it felt, what I needed to feel safe. And I think, apply that to other people. and other animals. And so I think out of all my experiences, it's just coming together, and it's really directed me in a place, or at least give me an understanding to make myself better as well. So like if I would have turned that bunny away, I think I would have missed out on an opportunity to experience life and death, and take even more information from that. So yeah, hopefully this helps. I don't know if you can see, my house is a mess right now. That bunny really does have a lot of output, and so I think that's another thing, is like if I'm going to be looking at fostering small numbers of animals in the far future, I'm going to have to look at my living space. And like I said, the garage, I could potentially put that into an insulated, thermal regulated building where I could maybe take on animals and house them in there. But right now it's far from that, but it kind of gives me like I'm planting a seed. It feels like I'm planting a seed there. And because like I could have kept the bunny if I had not only vet care, but if I had more of a stable financial position, and if I also had a space, if I had stalls where I could move the bunny between, so I could clean it continuously. Is hard to do because like I didn't want to scare the bunny in the room, and a lot of movement and things, and literally it was pooing on everything. It was crawling on things that it could jump, about 4 inches. So I have like something holding my printer up in there, and it pooed on that thing, which is like a nightstand, and it pooed. I got on top of the cardboard box that had little holes I put in for its hideaway, and put little cloths in there. If it did feel scared, it had somewhere to really hide. It did seem no interest in that, which is awesome because it felt safe enough to be in there. But it jumped up there too, and there was poo up there too. Poo everywhere. So now I got to disinfect the room and the items, because I don't know, like I don't want to put my dogs. They went in there and smelled the room, and I'm like, oh my, that's probably not the best, because I don't know if the bunny had any parasites and things. So now I'm like, oh my god. So now I've got my own extra task today, is to clean my home, like really disinfect it. And it needed a clean anyways, let me tell you. Like that, I was trying to sit with the bunny because they're very social creatures. So like not only was I'm trying to keep my dogs walking twice a day and make sure they don't feel neglected, because they know there's an animal in there, because they see me going in there and giving it attention. So then I'm trying to like sit with the bunny like from 30 to 45 minutes 3 times a day. Not only to feed it, because but to sit with it, because that's what's required. And it feel like I wanted it to feel safe and not neglected and by itself, which is what I felt it maybe experienced out on that road. So like the idea, I wanted it to experience safety and security. And we bonded, and the bunny, I googled and I learned a lot about bunnies. Let me tell you, I still have a lot to learn, but like I think like I don't know if I mentioned it because it's been a long video, but like at one point the bunny felt safe enough to lay down, and that's the sign that they're actually really relaxed and its eyes were closed. The eyes stay open because that's like for predatory, like I think for them, so they can see predators, but so predators maybe think they're awake and not dead or something, or sleeping. I don't know the details, but like the fact that the bunny felt safe enough to lay down in my presence is a huge sign. I'm like, I think I'm very good with animals, and I think I'm very good with prey, people who feel like prey. And I think I have that. Well, I am working on my communication and outcome. I think this is, especially with animals, I didn't have a lot of patience when I first had my dog Tucker, because he's very intense. Like he sits there and he's waiting for something, and I'm like, I got nothing to give. Especially what I've been recovering from abuse and still experiencing abuse these last few years. It's been a lot, and so it's really challenged me to really work on my patience, but also in trying to spend more time with my dogs. Because of the bunny, I didn't want them to feel left out. Like it got me to playing games with treats later in the night. So normally I would take them on 2 walks. They get fed 2 times a day, and then we would just watch TV at night and have our cuddles. But like I can tell my dog Tucker is bored, so like they need more stimulation. Same with Peanut. She probably needs some stimulation too, and they're not getting that. They're getting exercise, they're getting nutrition, but they're still missing that piece of like play and challenge. Like I like playing those was it color block game on my phone. I like puzzles, and I like those. So like so do my dogs probably, right? So like it gave me a chance to really force myself to like, okay, I don't want you to feel left out because there's a bunny in here, but how can I give you that one-on-one attention? And so it's really pushed me in that direction too. It's motivated me more. So like there was a purpose, instead of just the pain of, the experience of taking in a bunny under those cruel scenarios, but then also like nurturing it and connecting with it, but then having to lose it. It's been a lot, but I've also learned a lot from it. And this is how I do this with my experiences when I've been targeted and bullied amongst people in my community and my work environments and my family members. I am now able to process the pain faster and take the good out of it and see how I can make the situation better moving forward. And so things happen, everything does happen for a reason, but I think you have to be intentional too. It's not just to be like, well, I guess that bunny was meant to die. Well, you know what? I couldn't prevent the death, but I could see how the process or the protocol of how this was taken care of could be better moving forward, right? And like I lost time with the car dealership with what was happening, and the fact that I have to get loud and aggressive, I don't enjoy that. So I'm gonna have to get more detailed because I don't want to just be those. I don't want to be around people that force me to be a bitch. I don't enjoy that. And while that could be an element of being a boss to a certain degree, it's not a role I like to fall into often. And I don't like to be around people who need that from me in order to do their job. So I've learned a lot over the last couple of days. And like I said, now I got to go clean my house. It's a big mess. But I think it's important to put this message out there. I don't know. I'm gonna be trying to make shorter messages because I know some people just like how tos, like 1, 2, 3, like make it easy. So I am gonna be trying to work on that. For those of you that like those quicker messages, let me know if that's something you would benefit from. It would be nice to hear from you guys if you're out there watching. That is motivating for me to know that what I'm doing is making a difference. So even if you don't feel comfortable commenting, a like is important. A share, you can share it to your own cell number, and that counts as the algorithm as being worthy of sharing and bumping me up there. I'm looking to help not just myself but other people and other animals, and so like I have a good cause, and I think it's important to be promoted. So if I do say so myself, so I can appreciate any support you've got there. And there are ways, if you are comfortable and capable of financially providing, in my description box. And like I said, it's not necessary, but it's definitely appreciated at this time. And that's all I got for real this time, guys. So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for your views, and thank you for choosing to spend time with me while I talk about the struggles that I'm working through, and hopefully they're helpful in some way to other people and you watching. And I will see you in the next one.